What's up guys, welcome to today's video. Today we've got Mr. Zach. He's back out here again.
The STD33 is back again
the
to annoy.
The STD33 is back. So,
to annoy the shit out of me.
as you all already know, we have not been happy with how this car has run ever since we finished it. So, you know, you watched us rebuild the motor for Zach. We tried to get it running decent enough with the stock setup and it just was terrible. Zach then put the link in it and he bought it out just for the day. So previously Zach hasn't had a full license, he's still only had his automatic license. So every time he's bought this car out here, he's had to find someone else to come out with him. He's only been able to come out for the day. So that was the last time. He was only here for, and he actually, because he had issue with the link at the start of the day, he actually didn't get out here till nearly lunchtime last time. So all we had was a short afternoon hit at trying to get this car sorted, which we didn't get it right. We had obvious fuel supply issue and we didn't have time to really fault find and chase it down. So we got it sorted as we could for Zach and sent it out the door and sort of just told him, we'll bring next time he brings it back, make sure he allows a few days for us to actually get this car sorted.
So now we went overboard with everything fueling related.
Yeah, so now it's going to be way overbuilt as far as the fuel system goes. But sure enough, Zach has bought out his swag and stuff. He's going to stay out here tonight. We're going to sort of power through this thing. He's allowed until Wednesday to get this sorted, so if we have any issues, we have the time to actually get this thing absolutely perfectly right, and he's going to then take it down to QR this Friday night and hopefully go churn some laps. So we've got a few other issues to look at while it's here as well. It looks like it's developed a bit of an oil leak. It looks like it's coming from the cam seals to me. So again, it's the way we have the dyno set up at the moment, because it's sort of temporary in the shed. We've got the ramps and it's not the best way to be dynoing, particularly an RB like this, having it angled down forwards. You really should have these cars sort of level while you're dynoing. So all I am is just mindful about that. I always let the head sort of drain and let oil go back to the bottom end between runs. I don't keep into it. But I reckon that having it on that angle has allowed oil to build up at the back of the cam seals and potentially start pushing them out or damaging them. So it's fairly bad. So we're gonna pull a lot of the front end of this motor apart and have a look at the cam seals while we're doing this. So apart from that, Zach has brought out with him some new goodies. So Zach's got here a new max speeding rods turbo. So this is from the specs. I'm pretty sure it's about a 2871, which is pretty much the turbo that I originally built onto, or originally put on my R31 when I rebuilt it the first time that I actually damaged at morning session. We obviously know that damaged turbo was due to my setup. It wasn't the turbo's fault, but it should be a very well-sized turbo for this car to make, into the low 300 horsepower and be nice and punchy and really be a nice drift car. It should be nice and responsive. So pretty well-sized turbo with a little bit bigger wheel, so it's going to be a little bit better than the stock turbo that we got on the car. Not only that, Zach's got a new Freddy forward-facing manifold. These are just sort of your cheaper Grady copies. So you guys know that I particularly hate the stock RB25 manifolds because they're super convoluted and really complicated and they just don't have to be, and it annoys me. So this simplifies the whole setup on the cold side of the car a lot, and obviously it just makes it look so much nicer. He's also got a Billet Performance Products fuel rail and some 1000cc Bosch injectors, which he actually bought a dynamically flow match set from Golby's, which is awesome. So I'm always forever telling people buy a dynamically flow match set of injectors if you want your car to run properly, because not all injectors are equal. So it's really good that he's done that. He's also got the old Warbro 460 out of his Falcon, and the Turbo Smart FPR 800. So this fuel system is going to be way overkill.
If it doesn't work, I will actually burn this car like my Falcon. It will actually go up in flames.
It will be fine. So this fuel system is way overkill for what we're doing. But by the time this car leaves here by Wednesday, hopefully maybe even tomorrow if we get it right, it will have no issues. So the other very important thing that I need to touch on is prior to Zach actually bringing the car here today, last week he took the car to Sam and Glenn there at Whitey's Wiring and had a few little things done. So with this car, we've always had a fuel supply issue. Now, me and Rex here, we're not qualified or not auto sparkies. We know enough to get by. We checked the terminals at the, we checked everything at the pump and it seemed to have good voltage. We couldn't really find a voltage drop or anything like that. And with the Link ECU, we thought that, that would have sorted that potential issue out with the 33, so they have the PWM controlled fuel pump. Obviously not. So Sam did the classic R33 fuel pump upgrade, which is upgrade the wiring and the relay and have it just solid wired with just a trigger. and it fixed the issue. So Zach, as soon as Sam did that, Zach had heaps of fuel pressure with that reg we put in prior when we were on the dyno. So that seems to have fixed the fuel feed issue. So a massive thank you to Sam there at Whitey's Wiring for doing that for us and having this car sorted with some good quality wiring. So, you know, for us not being auto sparkies, it's always a risk doing wiring work on road going cars. We don't have the correct insurances to cover it because we aren't qualified to do it. So it's not something we like to touch. We always like to send wiring work straight down to Sam. And yeah, it's awesome that he sorted that out. So not only that, Sam also wired in the correct wires and pinned into the ECU a MAC valve so that we actually have ECU controlled boost. The turbo only has a single port wastegate, so we can't actually plumb it so that it holds the gate shut like you normally would with a 3-port MAC valve. But regardless, instead of having a, you know, old caveman boost T in this setup, we're actually going to have a MAC valve and ECU controlled boost, which is good. It means we can actually tune the power curve properly however Zach wants the power delivery, but also it means that we can have incorporated safeties as far as the boost control goes. So we can incorporate boost safeties into it, you know, which is always a good thing. So anyway, that's the whole plan. I think I blabbed for way too long, and we're going to get into actually pulling this thing apart and get it done. So Zach's pulled most of this front apart, and yeah, there was actually oil in the the top timing cover, so definitely is pointing towards cam seals. So obviously we have to continue pulling this apart. Harmonic balancer and everything has to come off so that we can actually get the timing belt off and get the timing gears off and have a look at the seals. But we'll probably just replace them both. We've got spare seals, so we'll just replace both seals and be done with it just in case. The other problem we ran into was Zach's new Freddy manifold didn't come with the piece for the top radiator hose, which is meant to go into here, which was a bit of a pain. So I had a spare IB25 manifold laying down there. We managed to get the one out of it with a lot of help from this little guy, so a lot of heat. But we did get it out, which is good because that saves the day. So that means we can continue with the manifold side of things, and we can use this after it gets cleaned up with a wire brush, all nice and pretty, and we'll slam that into here, and then we're actually all going to be okay. So that had us a little bit worried there for a bit, because if we couldn't get that out, I wasn't prepared to pull Zach's intake out and try and get that one out, because if we damage it or we can't do it, then it has to go back on. So I'm glad we could get that out. We could get that out of the other manifold. Righto guys, so we've got pretty much most of the front of this engine pulled apart, most of everything with the motor pulled apart, and the cam seals seem to be fine, and there's no oil sort of back in behind where the backing plate for the timing cover would go, so there's nothing that's suggesting cam seals. You know, it starts sort of down here where that backing plate finishes is where the oil starts, so it certainly would appear to us that it's coming from somewhere within, from here down inside the timing cover area. So in that area, we pretty much have this Welsh plug, which is water, so it's not that, or a main seal. So we're going into a main seal. That's pretty much what we're with at the moment, so that's what we're going to do. And actually, if you have a look at this main seal, you probably can't, because I can't hold the camera properly because I'm an idiot. But that main seal is actually pushed back quite a ways. See, it's about like sort of almost a mil or half a mil back from being flush with the front of the oil pump. So probably my fault, this one. But with RBs and JZs more importantly, I've got a spare pump in here I can show you guys, but it's pretty important that you don't push that seal all the way back into the pump, and I'll show you guys why here. So I've got here a RB25 pump off another customer's car that we've got here at the moment, which is very convenient for me to be able to show you what I'm talking about. But you will see down there in the bottom, there's that little hole down the bottom, and that is actually an oil return. It comes out there. So what that is that's where the oil that pushes up against the seal inside the pump actually returns down into the sump. So with the RBs, you can see how it's almost like cut half moon into the face. So, you know, if the seal's pushed all the way back, it'll sort of cover that hole a little bit, but it probably will cover it enough so that the oil that builds up in the back of the seal, it's got nowhere to go, it's going to push through the seal onto the crank snout. Now, JZ's is even more imperative, because the JZ pumps, they actually don't even have the little half moon thing. They actually just have the hole drilled in the actual surface. So if you push the front main too far back on a JZ, it completely covers the return, and you're bound to have leaks, 100%. But with this thing, I'd say when I built this thing, I probably just knocked that seal back in too far. That's my mistake. So we'll pull that seal back out, which we're hoping to be able to do with the oil pump in the car, because it's going to be way too hard to pull that oil pump off the sump. So we'll replace that Make sure this new one's only knocked back in so it's flush with the front of the pump, which is where it should be. Shouldn't be that far back where it is in that thing. And hopefully that fixes our issue. Fingers crossed. Righto guys, we've just been cracking along here. It's starting to get, the sun's starting to go down, starting to get a bit late. We might look at going and have some dinner soon, but Rex got the new front main in, so hopefully this solves this problem. We're pretty confident that's the oil leak. It's just hard to pin it down. Obviously, because it's been leaking out and going into the timing gear and getting flung up all around the timing set, and everything that's, you know, accounted for timing is just covered in oil. It makes it really hard to actually pinpoint the exact leak. But we're pretty confident that's what it is, and we're pretty happy that that main seal, you know, pushed back just so it's flush with the front is going to be okay. So Rex did that. Zach's been working on this manifold, getting it sorted. So we actually had to pull off the little fuel water rail that goes on the stock manifold. This just links up all the water parts in the manifold for the water ports in the head. So Zach's been sorting that out, and while he's been doing that, I've been porting out the wastegate on this turbo housing. So if you guys remember, I put this exact turbo on my RB30, R31 when I did it. I've already talked about it in this video. That turbo on that combo had mad boost creep issues. The internal gate was not adequate at all. I ended up going to an external gate on that setup just because it was easier than porting it, but seeing as this one is not on the car yet, I figured it was definitely worth porting it before it goes on. So should have shown you what it looked like before, but we've managed to get a whole lot more out of that actual wastegate port, and I've sort of ported the corner that would be coming from here just to give it that little bit extra priority flow as well. So ported and polished that up. So yeah, that is quite significantly larger than it was when I started, which is going to help us out a lot as far as our boost control on this car. So like I said, we're not looking to make heaps of boost pressure on this car. I'm thinking at this stage, yeah, probably 15, 16 pound should pull it up, and you know, just into that low 300 wheel area, which should still be plenty for Zach to party as long as he doesn't try and skid his 265s. Would not recommend. But yeah, keen to see how it goes. So still got a fair bit to do. We'll just keep going into the night and yeah, see how we go, and then hopefully have it sorted in on the dyno tomorrow morning sometime. The other thing is I actually accidentally broke one of the turbo lines to getting the turbo off. It looks like it was leaking already, so it might have already been cracked, but it's this one here, which is the water feed to the turbo. So we've got some spare fittings and stuff around that we can make another line. So we're going to make Zach a new sort of braided water feed line there for that. I would have liked to actually make him a new Dash 4 braided oil feed for the turbo. However, I've got fittings for the turbo, I've got the line, that's all good, but I have nothing for the block end. So unfortunately I can't do that. We're going to have to persevere with the hard line, which I hate doing. I hate the hard lines, I hate the stock hard lines, they make it such a pain. It's so much easier when you have nice braided lines that are easy to use and work with, but it is what it is. I should have told Zach to gab a line kit when he got his new turbo. I didn't think about it, but I definitely should have said that to him. But anyway, it's not a huge deal. Just makes it a bit harder for us to get it back in. But we're almost at the point now where we're ready to start putting this stuff back together. The only other thing I still have to modify is the actual the turbo drain fitting, the stock one. The flange is actually too big for these to actually fit properly. It's a known issue. I had to do it on my last one. You just have to take a little bit of a grind out of one side just so it clears the bolt. You know, it's not a big deal. It's not a big problem. It just is a bit of a pain, but it just is what it is. All right, guys, we just stopped quickly to have something to eat, but we've still just been soldiering on with this. We've got all the timing gear and stuff back on the car now, so it's going to start sort of going back together on the front end. I've been slowly working at this manifold, getting it together. All the things we need. I bought up a spare manifold that I just had lying around because I figured we know that Zach's IAC valve doesn't work from the last dyno day because we had to just unplug it because it wouldn't work. It was hunting and stuff at idle. So I thought we'd try. I've got an IAC on this manifold that I thought we may as well try. You know, at least we know that Zach's doesn't work. We don't know whether this one works or not, so more of a chance of it working. So we'll chuck it in here. We've got to sort out all our vacuum ports, and then it can sort of go back on the car. Apart from that, like throttle body and everything's been done. Zach's done all that, so looking pretty good there. And then I'm guessing fuel rail would be easier tomorrow morning when it's all on top. Asking stupid questions while filming. No. Yeah, we can put the fuel rail and stuff and injectors on the manifold before it goes on. It just depends on whether they're going to be in the way of the top bolts.
Yeah, probably just be easier not to do that then, just in case.
Right.
Yes.
Let's not do that then. Okay.
Maybe.
So also add it's very, very cold, guys.
I was gonna say I'm freezing.
Very cold. We ate dinner like around the fire, and it was very, very, very hard to muster up the energy to leave the fire to come up here to this cold ass shed and walk in this dumb ass car.
You need heaters in here.
Yeah,
amazing. Imagine like big gas heaters like right here.
Well, it's funny, like 4 days ago I was in here in midday being like, oh, I need freaking aircon in this.
Very true, very true.
Righto guys, we're cracking back along this morning. Last night we got to a point where we had dummy fitted our manifold all up to check all of our wiring, all of our pipe work, everything we sort of needed to get. At the moment Rex has gone for a run into town, into King Roy there to get some parts that we're going to need. So we wanted to dummy up that manifold yesterday and make sure we knew exactly what we needed to get so that we don't have to be doing things twice. So Zach's in here.
This is a terrible angle. This is the most terrible angle.
Accelerator cable. Here's some video proof that Zach actually does do some work out here. So most of the front of the engine's back together. Just got to chuck the balancer back on. So that's all good there. Covers are back in. And at the moment I'm just sorting out this intake manifold. So we dummied everything up, checked all of our, pretty much where we had all our bulbs and made sure all our routing and plumbing and everything was going to work. We have had to put the intake air temp sensor in the manifold. This is not ideal. Ideally you want your intake air temp sensor to be in front of the throttle body here so that you're always getting high speed air. What happens when you put it in the manifold is you actually get air that's sort of just stale and pooling and not moving at idle and stuff, and it can be not as accurate. Particularly as well, obviously this being such thick alloy, you can get a little bit of sort of heat soaking and stuff there. It's not the best place for it. The best place for your air intake temp sensor is in front of the throttle body where it's always getting high speed air. The problem is that the alloy pieces that we use for plumbing for the intake pipe, they're not thick enough to simply drill and tap for that sensor. There's not enough meat on the walls of them, and unfortunately, plain and simply, me and Rex are just not good enough fabricators to actually weld on a boss or do anything with it. I did have a go this morning. We've got some nice thick alley just bar here, so I tried to cut off a bit of that this morning and use it to try and weld on just a plate onto the intake pipe so that we had a boss where we could drill and tap to put that sensor, but just didn't work. I'm just not a good enough welder. I don't know enough about setting up the weld to weld alley. It's just one of those things that me and Rex, one of those skills that me and Rex lack, unfortunately. It's a lot of practice we need, but we do want to develop it. It's just we sort of need someone to sort of give us a bit of guidance with that one. So anyway, it'll do for now. When Sam at Whitey's there actually put this into the stock intake setup, he left heaps of length on the wires for it. So we're just going to leave all that length on the wires for it. And Zach, obviously, I'm sure he's got hookups for other people that are actually good fabricators. So one day when he has a chance and can find someone to fabricate it for him, it'll be easy to just pull that sensor out and extend it and put it in the in front of the throttle body there. That won't be a problem. So as well as that, now we've got this to sort out. So this manifold, it's not actually round. You can see it's got a big flat spot, which is less than ideal as well. So just going to get the die grinder in here and just clean that up a bit and make it round. And we've still got our little piece there in the freezer so that can get knocked in. And once that's in, the manifold is pretty much ready to go actually for its final install on the motor. So we'll get to that and we'll install this manifold. We've had to relocate Zach's washer bottle because it was in the way. So the throttle body comes to about sort of this area here, and the washer bottle obviously sits here. This is a new hole we're going to have to cut for the new pipe work because this is a bit too far back. Again, which is not a problem at all. But yeah, just be mindful, you do have to relocate your washer bottle. So I look at putting Zach's over in this corner. He's not that worried about it at the moment, so we're not that worried about it at the moment.
Water anyway, so.
Always leaky.
It was terrible.
I'll just stop at the servo and clean your windscreen.
It's the easiest way.
Yeah, nah. Anyway, so we are making progress. We're getting there. It's just a few things taking a bit longer than we expected, just for the fact that it's obviously being cheap eBay stuff. It does need some modification. It doesn't just straight up bolt on. So Rex is also, while he's in town, got to get all the fittings and stuff we need for the turbo and that. So
yeah. This
is the different in Zach's throttle cables. So this one here is the R33 one.
Pretty noticeable, hey?
That one's the S14 one, which is just a little bit longer. So
cool, because I actually pointed the camera where you're supposed to be looking.
Yeah. If I pull them, wait, yeah, both out there.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how much extra cable. There's not much of it, but
it makes a lot of difference though.
Oh, sure.
Alright, much nicer. It's actually round. Very good. So, now I'm going to use the old blowtorch there. Heat it up some. I've had the actual water port thing in the freezer all night, so I'll put some stag on that, actually seal it, and then hopefully we can just knock her in there and it'll be happy days. Alrighty, we're in. That went in easy as, and I put so much jointing paste on that. It better not leak. I'm gonna be real pissed off if it leaked after how much jointing paste went into it. That's pretty much the manifold ready to go on the car now. All our sensors, all of our ports, everything's done. Ready to go on the car. We do have to extend the wiring for these, the IAC and the IACV, and we also still have to repin the injector plugs because the new injectors are different plugs. So, hello guys, so just been getting slowly the turbo ready. These water fittings, I actually copper RTV the crap out of them just because I hate water leaks from them fittings, and they're really hard to get at once it's in the car. So I just put copper RTV on them, stops them from leaking, just makes it nice and easy. Also had to modify the oil return fitting to actually fit because it was fouling on that bolt, so just ground out a bit more of that so that it actually fits up properly. So that's all good, that's ready to go on now. And then the turbo's just about ready to go. Looks like we're probably just gonna have to use the hard line because we couldn't get a fitting to work with the block, which is a pain. Obviously there's nothing wrong with the hard lines, they're actually really, really good. The only thing that sucks about them is it just makes it really hard to work with. But anyway, we'll just persist with it. In the meantime, Zach sorted out his fuel pressure reg, he's mounted all that out and started to plumb it up. He's remounted the fuel filter so that it's a bit further down out of the way of our manifold. So that's all looking all good. We just left these long so they don't leak any, and we'll cut them and put the push locks on them when the rail's in there ready to go. So I'm pretty much at the point where I'm almost ready to get the manifold on, but I would like to extend the IAC wires first, which is something I was thinking about leaving for Zach to do tonight because I've got to go back home. So Zach also has a catch can just laying around that I found, which I've donated to Zach so that he can have an actual catch can instead of just having two breathers with rag taped over the end of it like so. So catch can's going to be much better. So yeah, he can mount that up in this corner and run them, so he's actually got a catch can as well. So slowly but surely making this car just a little bit better piece by piece.
What I'd really love to do, I just wish there was a bracket that I could use to mount them, like, well, it sounds weird, but you can use it up here and have it sitting up there.
That'll be fine.
But I don't have any brackets to sort of work with, but I don't know.
It does come to an unfortunate point where it's once again that same thing where we're really pushed for time. We can't get exactly all the parts we need. And Zach's driven the car here, so it's his way home. So again, we're at the mercy of time constraints and what we can get constraints.
We got till Friday, so I'm happy to do whatever.
You've got till Friday.
I have to.
We don't have till Friday. We've got work all around. We've got like 4 other jobs to do this week. So yeah, we're trying our best to get this done with what we've got and what we can get. But yeah, it's just a pain. Anyway, we'll just keep doing what we can. Just need more hours in a day, pretty much. I've still got more I need to do today before I even leave. It's already like 1:30, so anyway, all we can do is just keep trucking along with what we can get. So Zach's on to putting together all the front of his car.
You film me at the worst.
How's it going there, buddy? How you doing? Anyway, Rex has returned. He's got a lot of the stuff we needed, which is awesome. So we've actually got new bolts for the dump pipe to the turbo. So we can actually now mount the dump pipe on the turbo and actually get the turbo in the car now, which is good. So try and get the hot side pretty well sorted. They actually did have the correct fittings as well. So this is the correct fitting for the dash 4 into the block, which means that we can now actually change the hard line to our dash 4 braided line, this one here, which is just so much nice and easy to work with. So Zach is actually getting a complete line upgrade in the process of all this as well. So muchos happy. So this is going to be our new fitting for the top of the turbo for the oil feed. As you can see though, it's somewhat of a restrictor as well. So I'm going to drill this out because for these bush bearing turbos, I don't like to run any restrictors because they definitely need all the oil they can get. Even the turbo actually comes with a restrictor in the feed. Forget that these are low mounts, that's all backwards. You can see down there, there's actually a restrictor in there. I usually just take them out. And we just run these completely open, no restrictor, just because too much oil, the worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to push oil past the seals. And the worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to burn a little bit of oil. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's much better to burn a little bit of oil and have some upper cylinder lubricant than it is to kill a turbo. So it's just another one of those things of just keeping these things alive. Let's just make sure they got all the oil. Righto guys, so drilled out that feed. So it's a 4 mil hole now, and I took out the little restrictor in the turbo. So that's just straight into the core to the bearings. So yeah, put this down. I've got a little right angle dash 4 to go on there to help us out, and that'll be our feed. So much easier to work with than that hard line. I'm very happy about that. Righto guys, sorry for the lack of content except for the intermittent updates. We are just flat out just trying to get this thing smashed out because we are running low on time. So Zach's been chipping away at his fuel pump. So yes. Gone is the 255 we chucked in for fault finding the last time it was here, I think. And in goes Zach's Walbro 460 that came out of his XR6. So plenty of fuel pump. I think I told you in the last episode he's sorted out his reg and stuff. We've got our turbo in here and most of our lines sorted. So we are getting pretty close to being good to go. So that's our new nice braided oil feed line, which is just so much nicer than trying to deal with that hard line stuff. We've got one coolant line that runs around the back there that's braided, and that runs over to the heater return. Got another coolant line here, which actually runs as a feed. So we're actually didn't have enough line or fittings to make a proper one out of braid, which was a real pain for us, but this is gonna have to do for now, and Zach's gonna have to sort something out with that when he can, because otherwise it meant us going for another run to Brisbane or something, and it's just, we don't have the time. So it's gonna do for now. It'll do for dyno and stuff. She's gonna have to change that out pretty quick. So we're sort of at the point. Rex actually extended the IOC wires as well, so that's done. So we're almost at the point where the intake manifold's pretty much ready to go on. Just a few little things to do. Rex and Zach will probably have to do the injector wiring, the injector loom tonight or something. And but yeah, hopefully we're still on track for tomorrow morning, getting this thing on the dyno and getting started on it. So big job though. It's just so many little things like the oil feed fitting on the turbo. I had to actually re-tap them holes because they're not tapped all the way through. So you either got to shorten the bolts or re-tap the holes. It's a real pain, so I tapped them all the way through.
Look at that.
That's Rex's extended.
You reckon we're not fucking auto sparkies?
We aren't auto sparkies, but
sure looks like it.
That's our extended wiring for the IAC. So it's all coming together. So we're nearly ready to slam this on. I've got to do another job on the hoist real quick before I go home. So just moving this outside for a minute. So I can do that, and then we'll get it back in, and we'll probably get this intake manifold and stuff on and keep cracking along. The other thing is we couldn't actually get a 2-inch to 2.5 inch elbow, so we're going to have to use some other stuff. Rex managed to get a 2 to 2.5 straight, and we've got a 2-inch steel elbow. Again, not ideal, but we're just working with what we can get. You know, unfortunately, you know, Zach's not done a lot of work like this before, so he doesn't like think ahead for everything he needs, and I hadn't thought about all this, and we can't get it now, so we just got to work with what we can get and what we've got. But like I said to Zach, he can when he gets back to Brisbane and there's a lot of shops around where it's easy to get this stuff, he can go through and redo everything and put good, you know, good looking stuff on it. What we're going to do with it at the moment is going to work. It's just not ideal and it's not going to look that great, but as long as it gets it finished and onto the dyno tomorrow so the tune's done, after that Zach can take it back and he can sort of change things at his own leisure and make sure they're perfect. Still cracking along. Pretty much set up the intake pipe off the turbo side to the intercooler. This is the steel 2-inch bend, but Zach's just painted up so it looks alright. He might end up leaving it. Actually doesn't look too bad, but the new joins that Rex got. So that just goes on the turbo off this 2-inch joiner, and then it's just that 90 into the 2 to 2.5, and then goes back to the old stock one, which works fine. So all the turbo lines are done. Everything's sort of sorted out there. And then the intake side should be pretty right. As you can see, got some pinch weld on that hole that we cut out and made a bit nicer for Zach. So that's going to be a 45-inch. Well, actually, I'll just show you where it is. Better put it over. So that goes onto the intercooler there, and then your 45 sort of pokes up there like that. And then, so the throttle body will go on. The intake comes. The intake will go on, and the throttle body comes to around about here. So off the throttle body will just be, we'll have to make a joiner work because we don't have any 2 3/4 to 2.5. And then we've got either a 75 or a 45, whichever one's going to work best off the throttle body. And that's going to be the intake. And then I've got, this is the old 3-inch actual intake dose pipe off my 31 that I had before I made the pie cut intake. So it sort of fits pretty well perfectly. Just in there like so.
Looks so good.
Like so, and then put a pot on the end of it and, you know, get some hectic dosey boys going because stainless always sounds better with the dose. So, stainless intake off there, but that deletes Zach's MAF, which deletes another headache. And then the other thing is the power steering reservoir used to mount up there, but that's in the way. So we've decided we're going to pull it off, drill a nut set it and mount those two there, and then probably use this other post here to mount the catch can off. which sort of kills two birds with one stone.
Yep.
Gets it a bit more out of the way for that intake, a little bit further away from the turbo heat, and gives us a nice little place to hopefully mount the catch can. So it's all going ahead. We're just sorting out, Rex is just sorting out the lines for the IAC before the manifold goes on, so that we don't have to be trying to do that underneath the manifold when it's in the car, because it's a real pain to get at. But apart from that, it's pretty much time for the manifold to go on. And yeah, so it's all going along, it's all cracking along. About the last real timer thing we've got to do is, yeah, the injector subloom, put the new plugs in it, but again, hopefully that'll get sorted tonight. But
Yes.
it's coming along. Bigger job than we expected, but it's happening. It's doing it. It's going alright.
This has always been a bigger job than we ever expected. This car's just, as you would say, an asshole.
It'll be right.
Yep, that's almost done.
We've got the manifold on, but you need to recycle the old stock manifold bolts to actually use with the forward facing. And the short bolts, the shanks are way too long to actually fit. So yet again, another something we're gonna have to go and sort out tomorrow. Another thing that doesn't fit, another thing we've got to modify. Actually also had to modify the bolts that bolt the throttle bracket to the manifold. They bottomed out before they got tight. So another thing you got to modify. So this is why these jobs turn into such long processes, because all of these little things you have to fix and modify as you go. Like nothing actually just works. It's all takes lots of modification to actually make it happen. So anyway, that's something we're gonna have to sort out tomorrow. We're gonna get some more bolts. Rex is just fighting with this reg, trying to get the circlet back on it.
Bolt in. Plenum wouldn't be so bolted, right?
Yeah, well, that's why it's the thing, is they are cheap.
That's it, yeah.
I mean, it sucks to do, but once it's done, it is a lot better. But anyway, I've got to get going now. I've got to go home. So this is where my video is going to skip a little until the morning, but hopefully Zach will document what goes on between now and in the morning.
Rightio, so yours truly has taken over the camera for this little bit of today's video. Pretty much what we're going to be doing tonight, Rex is going to be working on doing the subloom for the injectors, and I guess just making them all ready for tomorrow morning so we can just bolt them straight in as soon as we sort of know what we're doing with them. Well, unless you probably already know what you're doing with them, don't you?
Oh yeah, just got to change the plugs over. Just because the new injectors are different plugs. It's not a big job, just fiddly.
Yep, that's it. No, that's easy.
Make some space here.
Nice. And then yes, well, the 460's in now. Replaced the 255. I think you spoke about this before. I chucked in the 460, so now that's all in there, ready to go. So the only thing that we can sort of, I'm actually going to do right now is I'm going to quickly do the Mac valve. It's pretty simple. Sam at Whitey's Wiring's already put the plug in for me, so I'm just going to work out exactly what I need to sort of plumb in and get that all working properly, ready for hopefully the dyno tomorrow. Well, yeah, we'll definitely be the dyno tomorrow. Yeah, we'll just get to doing stuff, and I think tomorrow we'll just have to put that piece of intercooler piping in, do up these bolts and get something that fits, and then we should be ready to see this thing turn on for the first time with everything installed. So let's get to it. Rightio guys, picking up Max's vlog right here. I got 2 jumpers on. Hopefully tonight's going to be a little bit warmer than last. Car's looking like a car again. Front bar's back on. Mac valve's installed. Got some just radiator piping, coolant piping and everything else done. Rex has finished up the injector loom, so that's looking all sweet. And then yeah, so pretty much I think that's pretty much where we wanted to end today's video. So thank you very much everyone for watching. Remember to smash subscribe. Is that the sort of thing he does? Smash subscribe, smash like, whatever it is. Yeah, that's the one. I probably didn't do it as good as him, but oh, mind that voice break too. Fuck me. What a terrible outro. I'll see you all. Oh, I won't see you guys all.
What's up guys, back here now in the morning. Rex and Zach have just gone to the hardware to get some bolts for this plenum, so try and find some short bolts of the hardware that are actually going to work for the plenum, which is a bit of a pain, but hopefully they can get that sorted, so that's done. Rail apparently does need modifying. Rex was saying to me, I haven't actually checked it yet, but that's a bit of a pain as well. Again, yet another thing that needs modifying, so just dragging out the process with all this modification that has to be done to get it to work. But anyway, it is looking good. It is getting there. Get this thing on the dyno today and hopefully have it done. Big old update on where we're at. So Zach managed to get the intercooler piping together. Actually, I'm pretty sure I said that in the last update. Anyway, got the rail and injectors in at the moment. Still got to wait and prime the pump and see if they're actually going to seal properly. Not 100% at the moment. So we've had heaps of problems with this rail. All the little seats that it came with don't actually fit the manifold. I shouldn't say it's a problem with the rail, it's more so problems with the manifold. So these are the little doovers that they came with, like the little seats, but they don't actually fit the manifold properly. So we're just doing the old 14mm bottom seal on the injectors, hoping it seals. But to do that, I actually had to modify the rail spacers because it didn't have any spacers that actually pulled down tight on the injectors. So to modify the rail spacers, then I had to modify the bolts that the rail came with to put it in so that it actually seats the injectors down somewhat properly. So they feel like they've seated all right. They should seal properly. But yeah, we'll just find out. So as far as all the manifold bolts, all the long bolts had to be cut down. All of the short bolts, we actually had to find other bolts to use for it. Yeah, literally just every single thing on this setup has had to be modified, customized. Literally none of it was bolt-on. Again, like I said, it's nothing to do with the rail or injector setup from Golby's. It is just because of the cheap manifold. It is what it is. Like, they're not bad once you get them sorted, but getting them there is a lot of work because they're just so cheaply built and made, and nothing really bolts on or works properly. So, so the final and last thing we've done is the throttle bracket that came with the manifold just didn't work at all. I had to modify it to start with to fit the throttle cable, and then since actually trying to get the throttle cable in, we figured that the spacing was incorrect. So we've got to completely remake another throttle bracket as well. So that's the last thing pretty much to do at the moment, and then plug all the loom in, and then we can sort of get going. The only other thing we have is that the IAC setup. So obviously this IAC tube has to actually be plumbed in front of the throttle body, and as I've told you earlier in this video, we're not good enough fabricators with alloy to really fabricate a way to do that. So still unsure what we're going to do about that at this point. Still making a decision about that, but we are getting there. It's taken a long time. It's been an absolute prick. It's fought us every single step of the way. It's been all pretty much custom jobbies, but it is getting there. So. And I must say, it is looking much better now than it used to. You'll also see the catch can we chucked in. We drilled some holes in the top of the catch can so it can actually breathe, because it was just a canister, so it wasn't actually doing any breathing. And we've had to modify, do some janky stuff to actually get the lines to work. But needless to say, it's free. I had it laying around so Zach can chuck it in the car for now. It's better than just having the rags over the end of the lines like he had before down in the corner here. At least it's somewhat of a catchment for oil. It's going to blow out if there is going to be any, which generally with RBs there is, but it is a pretty fresh engine, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Though, the rag that came out of it was this one right here.
Yeah, and it wasn't oily at all.
And there was nothing on there. Like, it doesn't even smell of oil.
Yeah, cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it should be alright. That being said, you haven't been driving the car hard, so...
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
It's done like 300k since we built it,
yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, so it's never run right, but... Yeah, it is looking nice. It is looking very good.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Alright guys, so it is getting on in the day. It's gonna roll into 4 days, which sucks, but it is what it is. It's what happens when you gotta modify everything. But we've had it all hooked back up. We have had the little water thing we had to put in the manifold, which I tried to put in with Stag. Didn't work. Putting the hose on, it was moving around and stuff. It was all over the place. It just was no good. So we pulled that out, took the Stag off. We just RTV'd the freaking thing in there. So heaps of RTV. It's feeling a lot better at the moment. It's feeling a lot more solid. So we're just going to give that a fair bit of time to set. But in the meantime, we've hooked everything up and primed the fuel pump up, set the fuel pressure. We've got no fuel leaks, which is awesome. So for a complete fuel system that's new, that we've actually just used rubber hose and hose clamps, and no, not braided line, not AN fittings, to completely have no leaks on the first try is pretty rare. So that's good. It also means that the rail modifications worked, and the injectors do actually seal properly in the manifold, which is also very good. So we've got no fuel leaks. So at the moment, Rex is just going out to get the gurney. We've got the 33 up on the hoist here at the moment, which is going to give it a really good degrease because it's still got oil all over the front of it from where that oil leak was from. So obviously, in order for us to make sure we've actually fixed it, we need to know it's not leaking. So in order to do that, we need to wash all the old oil off so that we can see where new oil is coming from if it is still leaking, which it better frickin' not be. If it leaks, it'll make one hell of an oil fire. But anyway, so that'll be the next thing. we'll degrease that. We'll give that RTV some time to go off. So then we just got to make sure we don't have an oil leak again, which is another step. And the next one is going to be make sure that manifold water neck thing doesn't leak any water. After that, no leaks. Cool. I've also spoken to Adam. Adam is going to do a solid and come out tomorrow and weld on our ports and stuff for our IACV. So I'll get him to move that intake air temp location while he's here as well. So that'll be that sorted, which is awesome. So massive thanks to Adam for helping us out there. But yeah, what a job this has turned into. Simple, yeah, just bolt the manifolds on, and then just bolt the fuel rail on, and then just bolt the turbo
Everything
on.
was just bolt on. It said it said on the eBay descriptions that everything was bolt on. So
Everything bolt on. Or straight on.
Not really. Modify. Oh, I just hate this car so much.
oh, you're pointing at the car, not Rex.
Yeah.
Oh right. Oh.
Not Rex. I was pointing right at this. Pointing at the dumb number plate on this dumb car.
I was pointing to
Dumb
the car
Japanese
too.
writing.
I was pointing to the car too, I swear.
So you can see there, we've just RTV'd that in, and it is feeling a lot better, a lot more solid than it was with the Stag. So hopefully that's enough to sort it out. Hopefully it will still be able to pressurize and, you know, hold in there. Fingers crossed. And then this here is the plumbing for the IACV, which we'll get Adam to weld a fitting on the bottom of that intake pipe there for that. And yeah, while he's there, we'll also get him to weld something we can tap into to relocate the intake air temp sensor so it's relocated to somewhere proper. And then it should all be done. Now the injector subloom, it's annoying that these aren't just a little bit longer, so we can't actually run the subloom underneath the rail like you'd like to and run them over. But once again, we didn't have a plug in these plugs, we can't really make another new subloom. So probably the best, like this is gonna work, it just doesn't look that great. So probably Zach's best bet is to probably hit up Sam and get Sam to make him a new injector subloom that is long enough so that he can run it underneath the rail so that it looks a lot nicer. And yeah, go see his boys at, what is it? The fab shop, the exhaust shop?
Elite Exhaust.
Elite Exhaust, yeah,
Elite
go see his boys
Exhaust.
Elite Exhaust. Make him
Number one in Brisbane.
some nicer
For sure.
intake piping and stuff like that.
In saying that, it's not too
fab
bad.
guys. Oh, it's not too bad, it'll do the
No.
job. But yeah,
Certainly.
no, if you want like a nice engine, mate, yeah, absolutely
You
go.
could leave it
Do
like
we?
that, it'll work fine. It's just if you want to neaten it up.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
want to neaten it up, yeah, go see your fab boys.
There
But yeah,
is
it's
there is
amazing.
a little bit more that probably needs to be done first than nice fab work, to be honest.
Yeah, it's probably a bit away, but I mean, you know,
Yeah.
the option's there. But it is crazy how much nicer that forward facing makes the engine bay. Anyway, it's about time. We'll get this top radiator hose on, we'll get some water in it, and we'll,
That can easily be neatened up too, just by zip tying that to.
yeah, just to tie it down. But
Just
yeah,
have
it
it
would
done,
be,
yeah.
yeah, it would be nice if it was long enough to run underneath the rail. We tried to run it underneath the rail and send these plugs underneath and over the top and over, but again, they're just not long enough that it was putting too much pressure. So it's more important that they work. So it's how be at the moment. I'd also replace that stupid blue vac line did dumb boost gauge, Zach.
What about the blue?
It looks ridiculous.
What about this right here? The radiator hose.
Yeah,
And
that looks
also
ridiculous
this
too.
And that.
No, I guess there's a bit of a theme.
There's
Bit of a-
definitely
bit
not.
of blue.
I wish there was a theme, but there's not. It'd actually make a lot of sense if I painted these blue,
Yep.
but I'm not going to do that because that'd be stupid.
No, I like them gold.
I like them too until I change it up. I've already told you what I want to do. but
Yeah. I know the inside story. Oh, I'm on the inside. I know the goss.
You guys like to tune into the ZacBaldy channel for another painting.
Another painting video. Righto guys, so I'm probably going to end this video here because it's probably already way longer than it should be. So you'll have to tune in for the next episode to see whether we've actually fixed the oil leak and whether the water leaks or not and see how the tune goes. So that's going to be the next episode. Thanks for watching. As always, head to the online store, buy yourself a shirt or a sticker if you'd like to support the channel. It'd sure be great for all this free work we do to Zach's car to get paid for something, you know.
It's not free.
Got my family at home starving.
Here I am using other people to build my 33.
Nah, in all seriousness though, thanks for watching guys, we appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one and we'll see how this thing goes. So, peace out, see you, bye.